From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big early morning of Early Morning LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update in 2021. In today's recording, we go over the path to get it done in January, with the Democrats now saying they have a lot to add in there and a lot to potentially remove. 4 different processes we detailed yesterday and still going over today about different approaches about how to vote on the recon in the month of January. I'll have all those details in today's recording direct from Dan and Monica, and that you need to know of this big recon that'll pay a lot of money. Viewers on this channel will get on average about $15,000 of checks in this incredible recon. Where are we right now? Well, here is where we are. That incredible recon will get passed in the Senate, so says Leader Schumer, and the Democrats. The recon will add a lot of checks to there that are in there already, but several provisions may come out. I'll explain which ones would come out. And then we're going to go to the excitement of third stimulus. No time to wait for fourth stimulus to become law. You get that big money available for third stimulus today. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details that go over that. And then fifth stimulus, what you need to know about fifth stimulus as well. It's a big second half of this, it's a big day of this video. Student loan debt forgiveness happening, and also fifth stimulus right behind that in this video. Plus, I'll be looking forward and back to what the Federal Reserve would say about Omicron. With now Omicron accounting for nearly over 70% of U.S. cases, growing from 3% just a week ago. What is the Federal Reserve going to do in the changing of its policy, and how does that impact our economy? All those details coming up in this video. I'm excited you're here because guess what? The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, the coffee's brewing, and we'll need some extra shots of espresso because we're being Joe Manchin today. Those details and more as we go into a big early morning's broadcast. I'm excited you're here. And the excitement of the toast, the butter, and the butter-in, and the deliciousness of the fourth stimulus recon heating up right now, right here, as we go into a big early morning's LA. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to deliver the news. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day and hope the weather is good where you are. Jump in the live chat. Tell me where you're tuning in from. The Senate changes to that recon will be bold, and several provisions could be removed. Which provisions will be going out? So far, the recon provisions pay a lot, upwards of $15,000, but no time to wait for fourth stimulus to become law, because guess what? You can get third stimulus today, and viewers are cleaning up, average of $5,000 across the board. We're going to go over how to get those big sums of money in this recording. Then we'll be turning to that student loan debt forgiveness and that fifth stimulus, that COLA raise, 5.9% coming in January. What do you need to know about this, and how does this impact your wallet? Then we'll be looking to what the Federal Reserve is likely to do in view of Omicron taking off dramatically in just 7 days. All those details and more coming up in this recording. But first, I want you to subscribe. So go into this video right now and hit that subscribe button and be part of this incredible family right across the board. The recon will become law, and I don't want you to miss anything of these details when that moment happens. So go into this video right now and hit that subscribe button. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member of Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Get that incredible newsletter from members going out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And here we go with that huge fourth stimulus recon and the path to get it done. Well, here is what you need to know is that the fourth stimulus recon will pay you a lot of checks, at least $15,000 of checks in this incredible recon. And those checks are scattered across 3 clusters with 3 add-ons. Go over each of those clusters right now, and let's look at them one at a time. First, $15,000. Yes. How many checks? Lots of them. I'm going to go over each of them with the first cluster starting right now. They got in there $4,000 of elder care, $4,000 of care for young children. Hazard pay for the essential workers, 1 more year, earned income tax credit. Then the money for the CTC, the child tax credit, $3,600 for 1 more year. Then they got in there the electric vehicle, $12,500, the money to repair your home if you live in a low-income community, and more deliciousness across the board. Wow. Let's go to the second cluster of checks. That includes different home repairs, paid leave, universal pre-kindergarten, and more. Now, the paid leave likely stay in there, but likely to get modified. I'll explain more about that later in this video. The home repairs are to weatherize your home, not to winterize them. And they're different than the low-income household repairs. Then the second add-on comes from Bob Casey, who wanted to give you $250 billion. What is this? This is big money available right now that would provide assistance to seniors and expand and also people on disabilities to get free home health care. Let's go to that third cluster checks, and here we go. That third cluster is where we find true deliciousness. Seniors and free internet in that third cluster. They also got free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication, the greener farmers checks, the free internet, and also the money for the seniors coverage, or the coverage for the seniors. What are we looking at when we talk about seniors money? What is that? So two approaches, one which is a House bill, another one which is a Senate bill. The House bill put in two provisions for this, putting in money for the Medicaid gap fix and for the hearing, but the senators vow to add three more checks in this recon for my seniors. First, dental, then vision, then lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. Currently at 65, want to bring it down to 55. And that's why it's important for you to advocate across the board, because guess what? They want to hear from you. The number one guy in that recon, his chief of staff says, keep on advocating until we're done. We ain't done yet, folks. And that message came in loud and clear. The viewers, the chief of staff to the number one guy on the recon, the Senate, said they now have a total between congressional and Senate's offices received more context of advocacy from the yellow purple power than the number of signatures in the American petition. Wow. Now they have a better understanding of what Americans are going through. This is a pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories in the voice of the people across the nation you highlight, as you have become too loud to be ignored. Please continue your encouragement for continued advocacy until this becomes law. Absolutely. Then when we talk about that MSC, what are we talking about? Here is what you need to know today. First, legislators back in the month of July told thousands of viewers of this channel it would go in there. One or more MSCs, which stands for multiple IRS stimulus check. It's used as an acronym on this channel because there are multiple checks for stimulus recon, so you don't want you to get confused. Who did they say would get it back early in the spring? Third stimulus check people. Single individual, 75,000 less, got it. Married couple, 150,000 less, got it. Double it. Family of four, quadruple, they got it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, it's not income. It's not taxable. And there you go. Go get that MSC. And what happened in the last 2 weeks? Well, Janet picked up the phone and advocated to Chuck Schumer's office and was told it's going in there via Bernie Sanders. Then Bonnie got the same confirmation from Liz Warren's office. The messaging kept on coming back in. The wonderful Lynn Glenn heard the same thing from Chris Coon's office. Tyrell heard the same thing from Bob Casey's office. So that's why it's important for you to advocate. And let's look at those advocacy recipients you need to reach out to make sure they get the message out loud and clear. They are Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Say it slower, L.A. Okay, I'll say it slower. In fact, I got a graphic for this one. You want to reach out to the following senators to advocate for its inclusion in that recon, and let's look at their names. They are... Oh, what'd I do? They're somewhere, we almost went to frame wars. We're not at frame wars right now, folks. You want to advocate to those incredible senators across the board. And who are they? Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Advocate for their inclusion across the board. And no. It's just so desperate to do frame wars today. Yeah, I would not do frame wars today. Advocate to the 6 senators because it's important to get that money in there. Oh, it's still playing. And advocate across the board. Did I say that? Advocate to Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Here they are. They were hiding with your stimulus. Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Pick up the phone and advocate to them. And tell them why you need these checks. Don't use the word MSC. Use simple language across the board. Consider becoming a member and subscribe. I got that one wrong also, didn't I? Oh, I got a couple things wrong. So gave me an excuse to tell you to subscribe again. Yeah, I didn't intend to do that. Honest, I promise I didn't intend to do that. That was just a mistake. But you want to advocate just those incredible senators to make sure they put that recon in there. And here they are: Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Advocate for them across the board. Make sure they hear your message by speaking to the staffer and calling in and at least leaving a voice message. Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. But also give yourself some time to advocate for your wallet, because guess what? Omicron is out of control, and we're going to see the impact of it on the U.S. economy by March, because now the situation is already not good right at the moment. And advocating for third stimulus is the way you manage it. Getting that big money for third stimulus, I'm going to show you how to get in the second half of this video. Views are averaging about $5,000. Then we're going to go over the Senate changes that are going to come to that recon. Removing things, adding things. I'm going to go over everything you need to know. Those big programs in the recon pay at least $15,000. That's before they start adding more stuff in there. And the passage of the recon. Will they get it passed? I have all my commentary on that coming up later in this video. But first, I want you part of this family. And here we are. If you need help with rent and utilities, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as early mornings, LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And it's a big early mornings LA as we go into the second half of this video. The Senate changes will be robust. This recon, very robust. I'm going to go over all the details you need to know. Programs so far in there on the House side, it's about 15,000, but that number could go bigger, and yet some provisions could get removed to get it passed. When will it get passed and how will it get passed? I go over the brand new details today. And third stimulus still paying out. How do you get that third stimulus money? Viewers clean up with at least $5,000 this last 2 weeks. Then we're going to turn to the other things you need to know, which is that student loan debt forgiveness, the offer for that across the board, and then the offer as well for this stimulus. Those details coming up in the second half of this video, but first I want you to subscribe. Go right on this video right now and hit that subscribe button. Like the video to 3,000 likes and consider becoming a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Meantime, look for that LA newsletter coming out tonight across the board. And join me as a new tester show is airing live overnight if you're watching this show for the first time, and it's called LALATE. It's LALATE. It's a live test show currently airing on this channel. Also, a new Calcino episode 3 coming out, and those details and more. But first, also sign up for the LA Alerts, which is totally viewable and free under the live chat. And with that, let's go into this credible recon. Because the toast is toast, and the butter is butter, and the coffee's brewing, that fourth stimulus recon will have lots of checks for you in there. And the situation is going from good to actually better. I'll explain to you what is going on. I'm starting right now. That fourth stimulus recon has a lot of checks in there, and the big checks amount to a little bit less than 45,000. At the moment, we're saying that the checks in that fourth stimulus recon equate to about $15,000. Now let's go over each of them, but also the breaking news today on Early. So, what's going on right now? We have a series of legislators who simply just have different opinions of the situation, and with their different opinions of the situation, so does the White House. It started with Sunday with the Joe Manchin situation and continued to erode, even though Joe Manchin on Monday said he'll pass the recall, which he said before. So Joe Manchin yesterday was one of many legislators who had opinions of the situation as to what they think should be done. And the problem with the White House is they do not stop all these people from giving their version. There should be only one version, which is what the president wants to do. So, version number one we're hearing from is Premal Jalapal, head of the Democrat caucus in the House. Yesterday he said, you know what? The way you deal with it is you don't negotiate with Joe Manchin. I don't think that idea works. Scratch that one off the list, and the president should scratch her comments off of any list. Then, option number two, Nancy Pelosi saying, just call a vote in the Senate, but don't change anything. Everything that passed in the House is perfect. It ain't perfect, Nancy. That's why it's important to remove the provisions in there that Nancy made a mistake and left them in there, because those programs don't belong in there. Then we have the question of what the president wants to do. The president, we're now learning, reached out to Joe Manchin shortly after the Sunday interview on Fox News, got him on the phone, went over the details, and continued to negotiate. Yeah, but then we get to the situation of Joe Manchin. His latest messaging is, I will do the recon, but you need to make some changes. And to do the recon, I'm also going to insert an adverb, because he always does. Sorta, maybe, kinda, will. No, his latest adverb is, well, maybe. Dear Lord. So, the last option, of course, is what Chuck Schumer wants to do. And this is where it gets incredibly good. No less than last Wednesday on this channel launched the campaign called hashtag Chuck Call the Vote, because we saw problems between the White House and Chuck Schumer. I said, hashtag just call the vote, Chuck. And now he says he is. The reason why calling the vote is great is many, many rounds of information. First, calling the vote starts with a debate, and the debate is good because the debate will be on broadcast media, live channels, live stream, C-SPAN, and more. It will, that live chat, that live debate, show how members of the Democratic Party have not come together on a common understanding. What's going to happen is, number one, the White House will feel the heat because the White House has done trick provisions since day one. I've detailed all this year on this channel that are in that fourth stimulus recon. It sounds eerily familiar to Nancy putting $300 billion in the second stimulus for state and local. Remember that? Yeah. And we caught her on the trick. Well, the Democrats this time are doing another trick game. And what is that trick game? They are writing language that doesn't say what it's supposed to say. Here's case in point. The CTC, the child tax credit, it's supposed to be $3,600 for 1 year. I don't think you're going to go to the mat screaming and shouting if the federal government sends $3,600 to a newborn child. I don't think you have a problem with it. But I do think you have a problem. I think you will be screaming if you heard the White House ones that said $60,000 at newborn children. And by the way, to seniors, we're not saying you anything. Oh, I assume you'd be fuming, Matt. This is what the White House is trying to do. They initially had a $20 trillion recon. And actually, it had a $7 trillion recon over 20 years. And the Democrats said, no, we're not doing that. So they reduced it to 10 years at $3 trillion. Well, that is when it started looking attractive across the board. And they said, maybe I'll do that. And then we were talking about this 1.79 and 1.9. And we were expecting that to become a law until we learned, wait, these provisions are still not 1 year. They're not even 3 years. They're back to 20 years. How do these people do this and how do they think they're going to get away? Very bad guessing game by them because Joe Manchin was not part of their equation. To have a guy that's quite good on their numbers, realizing there was a mistake in their numbers. And what was that mistake? The mistake was that they're trying to window dress something that is really 1 year as 20 years. So you call the vote on the House floor, everyone's going to, Senate floor, everyone's going to see that and say, no, fix it, the White House. This is also your fault. Number two, it will solidify the strange parts that have been at issue across the board. Number three, it will get Joe Manchin to say what his situation is live in the congressional record. Here is 2 or 3 ways that could happen. Number one, Joe Manchin is likely to say, paid leave, take it out. I already told you since February, take it out. And they're going to say, why? What's wrong with paid leave? He said yesterday, he says, I'm worried that you're not sending the checks to the person who takes care of the child. I've been telling the White House that problem for months. They haven't fixed it. Again, this goes right back to the White House. They should have fixed it. It's a very a proper thing for Joe Manchin to request. Doesn't make sense. His concept is a lot of kids are raised by grandparents because the parents are incarcerated. So where's their check going to go? The commissary in the prison? Yeah, that's not what's supposed to happen. The money's supposed to go to the kid, so the kid has it. So he sees a problem with the provision, not the whole body of legislation. Well, when you do that floor voting and the floor debating, it solves the situation. First, the debate, they'll talk about this, just like we're talking about right now. And at the end of it, they'll say, you ready to call the vote? No, because we got to fix 3 provisions we all agree upon. And it was brought up by Joe Manchin. Done. Done. They don't fix it then let's say it goes to a Senate floor vote, and then they got everyone on board with section of one person. And it's like, you got to fix this. You're not on board because the provisions are wrong. And then finally, when we talk about the third part of this recon, which is perhaps the most important when we talk about Joe Manchin, is the delay factor. And there's something we learned from Pelosi. Don't let people delay anything on you and lock them down. And the president is not locking down Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin delayed us out of February. We were supposed to have this law in February. He delayed us out of it. He delayed us out of those Labor Day, Memorial Day weekends where it was supposed to become a law. Everyone thought it was going to become a law. And now he's sending us up to delay us again. His latest comments on Monday, following the Fox News interview on Sunday, was, I'll do the recon. I always said I would do it. But there's certain provisions in there that don't belong where they belong, and they need to be removed or modified. Paid leave, as an example. Joe Manchin for 6 months said, I'll do paid leave. I want to do paid leave, but not by recon. What's the big deal? The big deal with him is that if you do it by recon, then you really don't have Republican states vowing to really emotionally attach themselves to the bill. And what his messaging is that paid leave needs to be done, but needs to be done the right way. And the place it belongs, says leadership, says the guy, Manchin, is that it should go by bipartisan support. No, excuse me. Bipartisan support for paid leave, that's about as ridiculous as Nancy's hairstyle. I don't see it happening. Now, maybe he sees something I don't see, but I think Chuck Schumer should call the vote and show Manchin how many 30 or 40 Republicans voted against the paid leave. And you're going to say, hey, see, you can't do paid leave by bipartisan. It has to go by voter-rama. That is why it's also helpful. Then finally, not allowing Joe Manchin to delay. Nancy Pelosi is a perfectionist on this. She knows how to do it. She did it with Representative Gothenheimer, who, like Manchin, is a moderate Democrat. He tried to play games with her back in November, saying, "You send me the recon after my roads and bridges. I'll get to it and I'll do it, but I'm doing my roads and bridges first." Well, he didn't keep his promise either, because when the opportunity was to happen, he initially tried to oppose. And that is why Nancy does it right. What does Nancy do when she's addressing the situation? How she did with Joe Manchin. With Joe Manchin, how she did with Gothenheimer. With Gothenheimer, she said, raise your hand on TV, on C-SPAN, smile, and say, I'm going to do what I just said. Second, she had him put it in writing, handwrite it, sign it with his name. Number 3, she had all this put in the congressional record, so it's forever at the Smithsonian. So if Joe Manchin says, I didn't really say that, I didn't mean to say that, I didn't care to say that, tough, you said it several times in this recon, and it's in there. And that is how you lock someone down. And I think that's how the White House should do it across the board. Let's go into some incredible checks in this recon because we deserve it. There's lots of checks that add up to at least $15,000. And first, we're going to go over the paid leave and also the SALT cap. So the paid leave is a lot of money. And what's important for you to know is that the paid leave would pay about $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year, $800 a week if you make $35,000 or more per year, $400 a week if you make $50,000 a year. Pretty simple. Now, when we talk about that paid leave, is there a problem with that? Yeah, Joe Manchin says take it out. So that is why Chuck Schumer needs to show Joe Manchin with an actual up-down vote. How many Republicans will never give Joe Manchin paid leave via an executive order or a standalone bill? They just won't. So go get that big big money for paid leave unless it's in there. All right, what else is in this fourth stimulus recon? Next in that fourth stimulus recon is the exciting details of the SALT cap, raising it from $10,000 to $72,500, of which you can deduct in state and local taxes. They got cheaper prescription medication in there. They got the job training in there, as millions of Americans want to pick a higher paying job. They got in the Medicaid gap fix, which will provide coverage, medical coverage to uninsured people in 12 Republican states that are stuck in the Medicaid gap fix. And then they got in there the housing, the $150 billion, the best part of this entire recon. There's a lot of money in that third stimulus. And here's what you need to know. It's coming up right now. But when we talk about this money, let me go over all the details that you need to know. First, how does this work? And let me go over what's at hand. The housing provision has 6 provisions. 3 are new, 3 are old. They got in the new provisions, the weatherize your home, the first-time home purchases, and also the home repairs. Home repairs would be low income. Everything else would be any incomes, was what we're told. Well, when you look at these programs, then what happens later in that provision for housing? Rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. Here we go. It's a continuation from third stimulus, and it's still around. Great news across the board. That big money from third stimulus is still around, and we're going to go over it right now. And let's look at a graphic. Let's look and see how much money people have gotten for rent and utilities from this channel. It is a lot. Here we go. Here is where we were looking at for the rent no less than 3 months ago. Boy, did it go up a lot. At the time, this was the rent, and it was $20,000 to $30,000. Now it's upwards of over $400,000. Where do you get this money? We reach out to 6 places: City Hall, City House Authority; County Hall, County House Authority; State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You do the 3 musts. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must do multiple rounds. And number 3, you must not just put one application on file and call it a day. You must do this across the board. Next, you want to get that utility assistance. Utilities went up a lot, and boy, are they a lot. They're upwards of $15,000 for now. Mark's brother-in-law getting that money. And then we go to that SNAP. If you got a third stimulus check, why are you paying for your own SNAP? You shouldn't be. It's food. And guess what? The federal government will pick up the tab for you if you're on third stimulus. You got third stimulus. And where do you get it? You reach out to the Department of Agriculture. Reach out to them and ask them to get on SNAP. And here we go. Mark's brother-in-law got $25,000 a year from this channel. Is now over $133,000 across the board. And that is where we are, my friends, as we go into a big early mornings LALATE broadcast. But here is what you need to know, is that rent and more is still available. Viewers are surprised when I brought back on the channel. I did not know this money is available. It is. First, if you got the money in the last 2 weeks, you can get another round. Number 2, if you never got this money, get the money today. And the great news is it's all available. Now, when we talk about that rounds, what are we talking about? We're talking about from day to tomorrow. We're not talking about 3 months out, because guess what? COVID is changing dramatically, so you don't want to be risking yourself for anything. So when looking at this recon and the payouts, well, what have we learned across the board? Those recon provisions really are incredible, but third stimulus is even better. Third stimulus pays a lot, and viewers continue to get big sums of money from this recon. Let's go over all the details you need to know. First, that recon was $20,000 to $30,000 for rent under third stimulus. But today, it's paying out a lot more, upwards of $40,000. So go get that rent. Where you get it? 6 places. You ready? City Hall, City House Authority; County Hall, County House Authority; State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. There you go. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must get an application on file, and you must do multiple rounds. A multiple round looks like this. If you got rent early this year, get another round of rent today. If you got rent last week for, let's say, ornaments and also cake, and the cake went bad, go back to them and get more money across the board. And there you go. Then when we look at the combo items, wow. So Art Silva and Nisi started us on getting multiple items, and they inspired a countless generation. Viewers on average are getting at least 3 or more items. Mark was at 35,000 when he had 2 items. I said, Mark, where's your third? He got his third, brought him up to $50,000. Go get those incredible sums of money today. Lorraine's at 105, and now she's at 120. And what's important to know is that success comes after you continue to work for yourself across the board. And let's turn to the incredible story of Johnny, because he got massive sums of money, even larger than this. And his massive sums of money came in a way we would never have thought across the board. Johnny had gotten nothing from this channel when he first tuned in, but by that Wednesday, 3 days later, he got a lot of money, a lot of cash. And what did he get? He got $80,000 in 7 days for making 15 phone calls. This is how you rock and roll. I love Johnny's story. Why? Because he clearly pushed as hard as he can push. He had at least 8 rejects, because if you have 15 yeses, you're going to also have about 50% no's. So that was part 1 of his incredible story. Part 2 of his incredible story followed the following week when his family members reached out to him and said, Johnny, what have you been doing? I got $8,000 last week in 5 days from LA. They said, how? He said, let me show you. And he did. And they got the money. They went from non-believers to believers. Then we go over to the big success across the board, which is what happened 2 weeks later. Johnny had 32 people coming over to this house. He showed them one at a time how to get this money. They watched the videos, they read the newsletter, they became subscribers, they became members, and they got, among those 32 people, drum roll please, $850,000. Wow, that is incredible. So get your pen and paper ready, go right on this video right now, and get ready to get that membership link. The membership link features all these big sums of money. It features the 6 nonprofits you want to reach out to. It also features features one nonprofit that provides home repairs and stuff you do not see in this recording. And it features a lot more, like the statement from Treasury you want to read before you reach out to get this big sum of money, because that money is eligible across the board. And with that, go get those sums of money from fourth stimulus. And third stimulus. And with that, let's go back now into third stimulus, which we left off at that provision for rent and utilities and more. So here we go. Oops, there you go. Are you coming in? Come on in. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Yeah, there you are. How nice to see you. That was all your big money from third stimulus. So now let's turn back from third stimulus. Now let's turn back over to fourth stimulus and what you need to know about what's happening with the remaining provisions in that fourth stimulus packet. So a lot of money and a lot of it, and we're going to go over each of those checks starting right now. But let's go over what's at issue. The remaining 3 provisions of housing that we left off at really provide great money. And the first one is the weatherize your home. If you live in a low-income community, great money. Then the first-time home purchases. This would be money given from the federal government to the seller in your name at the time of escrow. Very great news across the board on that one. And then finally, the home repairs. If you live in a low-income community, they got that money in there additionally. Lots of money across the board, and that is just the housing. Now, they got $150 billion in there for home health care. If you're a senior and people on disabilities, wow. This is the Bob Casey provision. They got $50 billion of nutrition. So if you're a student and you have to stay home from school because of COVID, then, for example, you get $65 per month. It's absolutely incredible. What else is in this recon? Well, they got in there the $12,500 for the new electric bike. And then we got the provisions in there for the medical assistance, which is the best part of this incredible bill. Here's the money for rent and more. For example, from 3 months ago, it's gone up a lot. Go get that money for rent. Get those combo items. And then look at these numbers for SNAP. It's a lot more now. Mark's brother-in-law is getting $25,000 a year. And with that, let's continue into the best part of the provision of this fourth stimulus recon, which is the cheaper medication. And it starts with Medicare Part D. Medicare Part B, the most expensive medication there is out there, cancer, arthritis, diabetes, dramatically discounted on day one, growing to 30 medications by the year 2028. and not increasing more per year than the rate of inflation. Well, there you go. Great news across the board. What are the other provisions of that recon? Well, the universal pre-kindergarten in there, the nutrition 1 month at a time at $65 per child not in school. And then we also have the housing, which we just went over. Big question marks about what about those provisions from third stimulus that are now expiring? Yeah, they are. Really problematic and confusing about how they're dealing with that situation. Well, this is what you need to know is that when you look at this graphic, 15,000, it's clearly a lot more. It's upwards of about 55,000. So you need to get every single penny in this recon as possible. And with that, I'm going to jump back over to student loan debt forgiveness for just a blink of an eye. And then I'll come back to forced stimulus in the final minutes of this video with my commentaries across the board. So here is what you need to know about this recon. And here is what you need to know about what the Federal Reserve is likely to do in reaction to the situation across the board. First, the representation is that the Senate changes to this recon will be bold, and there'll be a lot of them. That's the first issue at hand. There also is likely to have some provisions removed. Third, they have not decided on how to get from point A to point B, and they're having a lot of difficulties on this. Prema Jalapal saying don't negotiate. Nancy Pelosi saying don't change. Chuck Schumer saying call the vote. Will we see clarity by the end of the week? Potentially, but the news cycle is changing very quickly. Student loan debt forgiveness, the offer on the table is by executive order. And that offer cannot really be accepted by viewers of this channel at this time because you do not want to overwhelm the president on anything. You want him to get this big money coming out from fourth stimulus. There we go. I said second, I said third, then I said fourth. It's fourth stimulus. You want to get every single penny of it across the board. Meantime, when we look to student loan debt, what is that and how is it working and where are we going with it? So there's a forgiveness option offered by the president to forgive $10,000 of student loan debts for individuals across the board. The Democrats should take it. The president has already forgiven student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation and went to work in the nonprofit sector after graduation. The COLA raise. Your benefits are going up 5.9% next year because of COLA. That's the COLA benchmark. But that is not going to smother your SNAP benefits. They may go down a little bit because remember, your big money you're getting from these benefits is income. So that counts towards COLA across the board. And what about fifth stimulus? It's still being done at the same time? Yeah, it would be done at the same time. Just don't worry if you're not hearing any movement on fifth stimulus. It's happening as well. And with that, let's continue back into what you need to know as we go into a big early mornings broadcast. The Federal Reserve is going to have to figure out how to fix this situation. Why? A lot of details you need to know. I'm going to go over them right now. So the Federal Reserve last week said we're not going to pigeonhole ourselves because guess what? COVID may be a very, very fluid situation. So we're not going to guess ourselves. So the Federal Reserve said we're going to taper faster. But if we have to do something different, we're going to pivot. I believe the Federal Reserve is going to come in quickly and pivot and say, no quick tapering, just don't do it. Just do normal tapering for right now. Tapering is eliminating their stimulus, Fed stimulus. And then how about those interest rate hikes? Not happening. They weren't supposed to happen until the tapering was done. If you slow down the tapering because you're worried about the variant, then that makes sense. Elsewhere, while this is not a health channel, there is a lot of analysts who cannot get the story right about what the vaccine and the boosters do or don't do. And it's just become a mess. And the only way you can deal with it is just do what you think keeps yourself not coming down with COVID. Do as much as you can do and keep on doing it across the board. Those details unsurfaced this week when we learned that first, a lot of people are traveling and they just think it's not a problem for them. Miami-Dade Airport reporting the busiest day of the year yesterday on travel, and yet when you ask travelers at the airport, why are you traveling? He says, I'm double vaccinated, I feel great. Are you boosted? No, I'm not, but I'm fine. Meantime, the White House sending out mixed messages about boosting. Keep on going to breakthrough cases where people had double vaccination still coming down with Omicron. It's a breakthrough case. I wish they'd stop using that language, breakthrough, because there's too many people who are double vaccinated who are getting some strain version of the virus, in their system. And so it's not so breakthrough, that's so rare, it's getting pretty reoccurring. Let's go into my final commentary as we go into the final minutes of today's recording and go over what I think the president needs to do and what he has not done, and what you need to do as well. So first, keep on point, say focus. You can say critical. Critical is time at a time like this. So perhaps you want to say something very critical about Joe Manchin. That is fine. But don't say something like the president doesn't care. They don't care. They don't care for the hardworking American people that the money's going out. They do care. The problem is that they want to be very stubborn when it comes to writing language, and the language is not passable. So that no one can get that language passed if the language is not fixed. There's a lot of talk of staff members really not being accommodating to the situation. So that will happen. What are you going to see today? You're likely to see the reaction more from the Democrats. Move here, move there, do it this way, do that way. The president needs to sort of lock that down if that's the way he's going to go, because I don't think it helps the situation. He needs one message and repeat the same message despite who's saying it. We're going to do this in January, do this in late December, get it ready for January, and those across the board. And I think if the White House leads by example, I think we're fine. I'm not worried about Manchin. I'm not worried about Liz Warren. I'm not worried about any provisions, but I'm worried when I don't see the White House really taking a consistent message and allowing so many different people with so many different opinions of the situation, telling us which way that recon should go next. It's at times like this that you as a president of the United States need to really step up and ensure that you do everything across the board. And with that, join me next on Overnight's LALATE. It's a live feed called LA Live. It's on Tester tonight. And then join me on Morning's Countdown at 7 a.m. Then up next after that is 9 a.m. Morning's LALATE. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.